My brother ditched my 16-year-old daughter 1,200 miles from home to teach her respect. So I taught him what accountability looks like when I built a legal case that left him and his wife destroyed and cut from the family forever. Hey, Reddit, not really the type to post, but something happened a few months back that completely changed how I see family. I used to think blood automatically meant loyalty. Turns out it doesn't. What started as a simple family trip ended up showing me just how far people will go when jealousy eats them alive. I'm not here for pity. I just want to tell you how I handled it, step by step, the only way I know how, calmly, smartly, and without backing down. My daughter, Sarah, 16 female, had been buzzing about that family trip for weeks. She was smart, full of life, and honestly, too good for the circus that is my brother Mike's family. But she adored her cousins. She always did. She helped them pack, made matching bracelets, and even printed a little trip checklist for everyone. She told me, "Dad, this one's going to be the best one yet." I smiled, told her to take pictures, and reminded her to keep her phone charged. I couldn't go because of work. I'm a doctor, the kind who doesn't just clock out because a family wants matching beach shirts. Mike knew that. He promised to watch out for her like his own. I took his word for it. Big mistake. 3 days after they left, I was wrapping up a late shift at the hospital, one of those quiet hours where machines hum louder than people. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, thinking it was another wrong call. But something in me said, "Pick up." The voice on the other end wasn't just crying, it was shaking. "Dad? Dad, it's me. It's Sarah." She was panicking so badly I could barely understand her. Between gasps, I made out pieces. Melissa took her phone to teach her respect. Her return flight got canceled, and everyone, Mike, Melissa, her cousins, had left. They'd gone home, without her. For a few seconds, I didn't say anything. My mind just stopped. Then everything clicked at once. Her being stranded, no phone, no family in a foreign country. "Where are you right now?" I asked, already typing into my computer. She sniffled. "Outside the hotel. They kicked me out after checkout. They said my name wasn't on the room anymore. When I asked about my ticket, the front desk checked and told me my return flight had been canceled." I pressed the heel of my hand against my forehead. "Okay, listen to me. You're not moving from where you are. Do you understand? Stay somewhere crowded. I'm getting you home." A man's voice came through faintly. Some tourist who had handed her his phone. She said the hotel staff let her stay at the lobby long enough to find someone willing to call me. She'd been trying all day. I kept my tone steady, but my chest was on fire. "You're gonna be fine, Sarah. Just hang tight. I'm booking your flight right now." Within minutes, I had her on the next available flight home. I called the airline, arranged an airport escort for her, and sent them her photo and booking info. I've handled surgeries smoother than that call, but nothing has ever made my blood run colder. I informed the charge nurse I was leaving. Didn't wait for approval. "Family emergency," I said. That was all. The drive to the airport felt longer than any shift I'd ever done. My brain replayed her voice, trembling and broken. I kept gripping the steering wheel tighter every time I thought about Melissa, about that smug, self-righteous tone she always had, the kind of person who thinks her cruelty is discipline. I thought about Mike, too. Spineless, probably nodding along to whatever she said. He'd always been that way. When we were kids, he'd lie, and I'd take the blame. Some people never outgrow cowardice. My phone pinged with flight updates every few minutes. I kept checking them like a man on autopilot. Heart pounding, but face calm. That's something medicine teaches you. Stay steady even when it burns inside. At one point, I actually laughed, bitter and low. The idea that they could do this and think I'd just let it slide. I'm not that guy. I've built my entire life fixing chaos. And this was personal. When I finally pulled into the airport parking lot, I killed the engine and sat there for a second, just breathing. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked calm, the kind of calm that comes right before a storm. I opened my phone, looked at the last message Sarah had sent before they left. "Don't work too hard, Dad. I'll bring you something cool." My jaw clenched. I walked inside, scanned the arrivals board, and checked the time. Her flight had just crossed the halfway mark on the tracker. I still had about 3 hours to wait. 3 hours for that anger to settle into something sharper. This wasn't just neglect. This was deliberate, calculated. And the moment I saw my daughter safe, I was going to make sure Mike and Melissa understood exactly who they had messed with. As I sat there in that dim waiting area, surrounded by the quiet hum of late-night travelers, I realized I wasn't even mad in the usual way. I was focused, cold, precise. They didn't just abandon my daughter. They made the mistake of assuming I was the kind of man who forgives family misunderstandings. I'm not. I looked at the sliding glass doors where the next wave of passengers would walk through. My hands tightened as I thought about what was coming. They left my kid alone in another country. That's not a mistake, that's cruelty. I kept replaying that line in my head as I stood in the arrival section. Every parent there was smiling, except me. I wasn't smiling. I was standing still, running through every possible outcome in my head like a checklist. Then I saw her. Sarah walked out of that gate like a ghost of herself, holding onto one small bag like her life depended on it. Her eyes scanned the crowd once, then she spotted me. The second she did, all that composure she'd been trying to hold together cracked. She ran into my arms and just clung there. Didn't say a word, just held on. I didn't ask anything. I just wrapped my arms around her and said, "You're safe now. I've got you." We walked out to the parking lot in silence. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't eaten or slept properly in days. I waited. I didn't push. I know how trauma works. You let the silence do the work first. Halfway down the highway, she spoke, her voice small. "I tried to stay calm, Dad. I really did." "What happened?" She swallowed hard. "It started the second we landed. Melissa kept saying I was too attached to my phone, that I should learn how to enjoy the trip instead of scrolling. So she took it for the week. I thought she'd give it back at night, but she didn't. Said she was teaching me discipline." I raised my eyebrow. "But you were answering my texts whenever I did." Sarah frowned. "That wasn't me. It was Melissa. She only gave me the phone whenever you called." I tightened my grip on the wheel. Melissa and her teaching moments. The woman's never taught anyone anything but arrogance. Sarah went on. "Uncle Mike didn't say anything. He just nodded like she was right. He never says anything when she's being her." I didn't need her to finish that sentence. I'd seen it before. Melissa barking. Mike being a doormat standing behind her, pretending to keep peace while doing absolutely nothing. Sarah sniffed. At first, it was okay. The cousins were nice. We went to the beach, got ice cream. But then Melissa started picking at me. Said I was showing off because Grandpa always talks about me. She kept saying things like, "Some kids think being smart makes them better than everyone." I just ignored her. I could see it all in my head. The fake smiles, the quiet digs, the cousins watching awkwardly. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" I didn't want to ruin the trip. I just kept quiet. That was Sarah. Always the peacemaker. Always trying to hold a family together that didn't deserve her effort. She took that from her late mother. She wiped her eyes and kept going. When it was time to leave, I started packing. Melissa came in and said my ticket got messed up. She said her assistant would fix it, so I waited in the lobby while they loaded the car. I thought they were just checking out. Then she told me to wait with the luggage because the van was full and Mike would come back for me after dropping them at the airport. "And he didn't," I said quietly. She shook her head. "No, he didn't." I waited for 3 hours. When I went back inside, the receptionist said the room was canceled and my name wasn't listed anymore. Then they said I had to leave because the booking was over. My jaw locked so tight I could hear it pop. I tried calling them, but Melissa had my phone, Sarah said. I tried calling my cousin Jessica from the hotel, but she didn't answer. Later, I found out Melissa told everyone I wanted to stay a few more days to be independent. She let out a broken laugh. Independent? I didn't even have anything. I sat outside for hours, and then the hotel security told me to leave. She looked down at her hands. "A nice older lady saw me crying and let me use her phone to call you. That's the only reason I got through." For a moment, I didn't say anything. I just focused on breathing evenly. My mind wasn't thinking about emotions. It was cataloging. Melissa took the phone. Melissa canceled the flight. Mike approved it. The cousins were forced to stay quiet. It wasn't neglect. It was a plan. When we got home, I parked the car and turned to her. "You did everything right, Sarah. You kept your cool. You stayed safe. I'm proud of you." She nodded, tears running down her face. "I didn't want to bother you, Dad. You were working and—" "Stop." My tone came out sharper than I meant. "You never have to apologize for needing me. Never." Inside, I made her food. Simple stuff, soup and toast. She picked at it while I asked small, calm questions. Times, names, phrases. Every detail mattered. I wrote it all down while pretending I was just making conversation. She told me how Melissa made comments the whole week about not having a real mom and getting special treatment because people feel sorry for her. I didn't react. Not yet. I just kept writing. I stood there for a long time, just watching her breathe. Then I went to my desk and opened my laptop. Started pulling up flight records, reservation emails, timestamps. Everything I could find. Melissa and Mike wanted to play games? Fine. I don't bluff. They treated her like she didn't matter, I muttered, voice low but steady. They're about to find out she does. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I couldn't, because I didn't want to. I've worked 24-hour shifts in trauma wards. I know how to run on focus alone. I sat at my desk with a cup of black coffee and my laptop, treating this like a patient case. Step 1, gather the facts. Step 2, confirm the source. Step 3, cut out the infection. First call, the airline. I gave them the booking reference from Sarah's old email. The rep on the other end sounded half asleep until I mentioned my daughter had been stranded abroad. Suddenly, she was wide awake. Yes, sir, I see the reservation here, she said, typing fast. Return ticket was canceled manually 4 days ago. By who? Looks like Melissa Grant. Same email as the original booking. My jaw tightened. Was a refund issued? Yes, to the same card that paid for the group booking. So she didn't just cancel it. She made sure the money went back to her. Second call, the hotel. I asked to speak to a manager. They confirmed Sarah's room was checked out at the family's request. I asked who made that request. The manager paused. Sir, Melissa Grant. She said your daughter had changed her travel plans. I thanked them and hung up. My screen was filling up with notes, timestamps, call logs. It was surgical work. Clean, unemotional, precise. Next, I dug into the booking chain. The family always used the same travel agent, a woman named Karen who handles Mike's business trips. I called her office. She picked up on the second ring, chipper as ever. Dr. Grant, how was the trip? I didn't go, I said flatly. But tell me, when you booked those tickets, who handled the changes? Her tone shifted fast. Oh, that would have been Melissa Grant. She emailed me midweek saying Sarah was going to stay longer. I kept my voice level. Did she now? And you didn't think to confirm that with me? She sounded confident, and the group booking was in her name. So I didn't think twice, Karen said. I thanked her, ended the call, and exhaled slowly. Every piece lined up perfectly. Melissa canceled the flight. She checked out the hotel room. She even contacted the travel agent to rewrite the story before I could find out. I started gathering evidence. Screenshots of emails, the hotel invoice, and the airline's internal agent notes showing who canceled the ticket. I saved everything in a new folder labeled Case. Old habit, doctors like things organized when they plan to dissect something ugly. Around 9 a.m., my sister Jenny called. She's the only sibling I actually trust. Hey, you okay? I heard from Mom that Sarah had some travel issue. I told her everything. Short, clinical, no emotion. When I finished, she went silent. Oh my God, she finally said. Mom and Dad think Sarah stayed longer with friends. That's what Mike told them. Of course he did, I said. He probably rehearsed that lie while she was still sitting outside the hotel. Jenny was furious. Mom's gonna lose it when she finds out. She will, but not yet. I want every fact on paper first. While we talked, I kept working, copying the metadata from the booking emails, downloading the timestamps. Evidence doesn't lie, even when family does. After hanging up with Jenny, I called Mike. He picked up on the third ring, sounding relaxed, like he didn't have a single care in the world. Hey, bro! How's Sarah? Everything sorted? Yeah, I said. She's home. You want to tell me why she had to call me from another country using a stranger's phone? He chuckled, that fake nervous laugh he does when he's cornered. Don't exaggerate. She's fine, right? You left a 16-year-old stranded overseas with no phone and no return ticket. You better hope I'm exaggerating, Mike. He went quiet. Then, Melissa told me she had it under control. She said Sarah wanted to stay longer. Save it, I cut in. I've got the airline logs, hotel records, and travel agent emails. Melissa didn't have it under control. She had it planned. He tried another weak defense. You know how misunderstandings happen on trips. Maybe the system messed up. Yeah, I said dryly. Funny how the system always messes up in your wife's favor. He mumbled something about needing to talk to Melissa and hung up. I sat there for a minute, just staring at the call screen, then opened a new document titled Incident Report. I typed every word Sarah had told me, every quote from the calls, every timestamp. The more I wrote, the calmer I got. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't pacing. I was preparing. By the afternoon, I had a file thick enough to make anyone nervous. I saved copies to an encrypted drive and printed a few key pages. Then I texted my lawyer friend, Daniel, the kind of guy who's seen enough family lawsuits to keep emotion out of it. Need a favor, family matter, involves endangerment of a minor. Want to sue? Daniel replied, that bad? Worse. Sending documents now. I hit send on the folder and leaned back. The house was quiet except for the sound of the printer spitting out paper. For the first time since that phone call, I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was inevitable. Mike and Melissa wanted to act like Sarah didn't matter, like she was just some kid who'd get over it. They forgot who her father was. I picked up my phone, sent Daniel one last message. We're going legal. By the next morning, I had everything ready. Evidence doesn't lie, and I had enough to crush theirs. The timing worked out. It was Saturday, our family's usual get-together at my parents' house. Perfect stage. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I wanted them unprepared. When Sarah woke up, I told her, "We're visiting Grandma and Grandpa today. You don't have to say anything. Just stay beside me." She hesitated. "Are they going to be there?" "They are," I said, "and they're going to answer for what they did." We drove in silence. I could see her fidgeting with her sleeve, nervous but trying to stay calm. She'd been through enough already, and I wasn't about to let her face another second of humiliation. The second we pulled into my parents' driveway, I spotted Mike's SUV. Of course. The man couldn't look guilty if he tried. Inside, my parents were at the table, Jenny was helping Mom set the plates, and Mike and Melissa were sitting like royalty, laughing at something. The moment I walked in, it was like the air got vacuumed out of the room. Mike's smile froze. Melissa blinked twice, then forced another one. "Oh, you made it." "Yeah," I said, dropping a thick folder on the table. Didn't want to miss family time. Mom's face lit up when she saw Sarah, but she could sense the tension instantly. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. "Not yet," I said, "but it will be." I sat down across from Mike and Melissa and opened the folder. Printed pages slid out. Flight confirmations, hotel checkout records, timestamps, and email chains. Melissa's name was on every one of them. "What's all this?" Mike asked, pretending confusion like he was reading a foreign language. "This," I said evenly, "is the paper trail proving my daughter's flight was canceled manually by your wife. Her hotel room was checked out early, also by your wife, and all of it was approved by you." Melissa gave a weak laugh. "That's ridiculous. There must be some mix-up." "Right," I said. "A mix-up where your name shows up on every approval. Interesting coincidence?" Mike leaned forward, palms up, fake calm. "Look, we're sorry Sarah had travel issues, but you're blowing this out of proportion. It was chaos that morning. And don't," I said sharply, "don't insult my intelligence with that chaos excuse. You both left a 16-year-old girl in a foreign country. That's not chaos, that's neglect." Melissa crossed her arms. "We thought she wanted to stay longer. She's always so independent." I leaned back, looking her dead in the eye. "Really? Because the hotel manager says you told them she checked out with you, and the airline says you canceled her ticket. So unless Sarah hacked your email from another country, you're lying." The room went dead quiet. Jenny stopped setting the table and just stared. My mom had her hand over her mouth. Melissa's mask started to crack. Her lips tightened. "Maybe if your daughter wasn't everyone's favorite, people wouldn't be tired of her." The words hung in the air like a slap. "What did you just say?" My father's voice cut through the silence. He stood up slowly, his face red. "You left my granddaughter stranded because you were jealous?" Melissa's jaw trembled. "That's not what I—" He slammed his hand on the table so hard the dishes rattled. "Shut your mouth!" Mom gasped. Jenny was frozen, eyes wide. Sarah, who'd been standing near the doorway, looked down, trying not to cry herself. I stayed seated, calm, because that's what power looks like. "You know," I said slowly, "I used to think people exaggerate about how petty jealousy can make someone. But this is a new level. You humiliated a kid because you couldn't handle her being loved." Mike tried to interject, "Hey, don't talk to my wife like that." I cut him off. "No, you don't get to defend her. You were supposed to be responsible for Sarah on that trip. You let it happen. You let her sit outside a hotel with no phone and no way home while you went sightseeing. You're her guardian, Mike, and you failed." He looked like he wanted to argue, but there was nothing left to say. His silence said it all. I stood up, collected the papers, and turned to my parents. "I didn't come here for a fight. I came here to show you the truth." Then I looked at Mike. "We're done. You'll be hearing from my lawyer." Sarah walked to my side. We started toward the door, and I could hear Melissa sniffling behind us, trying to twist the story already. "You're ruining this family," she cried. My father's voice followed me. "No," he said, loud and final. "You did. You're no daughter-in-law of mine. And Mike," he paused, voice low but firm, "you're no son of mine." We left. The second the door closed behind us, Sarah exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for hours. "Was that okay?" she asked quietly. I nodded. You handled it perfectly. We got in the car. I called Daniel before even turning the ignition. It's done, I said. You have their reaction? He asked. Loud and clear. Good, he said. Then we moved forward. As I pulled out of the driveway, I caught one last glimpse of my father through the window, standing tall beside my mother, his face hard and set. For the first time in years, I saw the old man I grew up respecting, the one who didn't tolerate cruelty, no matter who it came from. I drove off without looking back. Whatever happened next wasn't family business anymore. It was legal business. 3 days later, the doorbell rang just after dinner. I checked the camera. Melissa, alone. The same woman who had strutted around like she owned the family now looked like she'd been chewed up and spit out. I opened the door halfway, just enough to make her uncomfortable. Can we talk? She asked, voice trembling. I crossed my arms. I don't think there's anything left to say. Please, she said, eyes darting like she was being chased. Just 5 minutes. I need to explain. I didn't answer. I just stepped aside without saying a word. Silence makes people panic faster than shouting. She walked in, clutching her bag like a shield. The moment she stepped into the living room, her whole act cracked. I messed up, okay? She blurted. I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand. I sat on the edge of the couch, motionless. You canceled her ticket, took her phone, and left her in another country. That's not an accident. That's a choice. She started pacing. I just wanted her to stop acting like she's better than everyone. You have no idea what it's like. Everyone comparing my kids to your perfect daughter all the time. Grandpa this, grandma that. It's always Sarah's so polite. Sarah's so smart. Sarah's so mature. You think that doesn't hurt my kids? I tilted my head slightly. So your solution was to abandon her? Her breathing picked up. You don't get it. She doesn't even have a mom, yet everyone treats her like she's some miracle child. My kids have 2 parents, and nobody even notices them. That line hit harder than she expected. Not because it hurt me, because it exposed everything. The jealousy, the bitterness, the reason she did it. I stood up slowly, pulled my phone from my pocket, and placed it on the coffee table. Recording. Keep going, I said quietly. She didn't notice. She was spiraling. Mike said it was too much, that your daughter always gets the sympathy vote. Every family dinner, your dad brings her up like she's the only grandchild who matters. She dropped her bag on the floor, tears streaking her face. But it went too far. I thought maybe you'd get mad, yell at me, but I didn't think you'd... She stopped mid-sentence, realizing what she'd just admitted. I met her eyes. Didn't think I'd what? Expose you? Hold you accountable? Sue you? Her face drained of color. Then she saw my phone light blink red. Recording. Her voice broke into a scream. Are you recording me? Yep, I said flatly. I like keeping receipts. She lunged toward the phone, but I picked it up before she could touch it. You can't do this! You'll destroy my family! She cried. You already did, I said, calm as stone. She dropped to her knees, sobbing, hands clasped. Please, I didn't mean to hurt her. I was just angry. You don't know how it feels when everyone loves someone else's kid more than yours. You're right, I said. I don't know how it feels to be jealous of a child. That's because I'm not pathetic. She froze, tears still streaming, mouth open, but no sound coming out. Then, like flipping a switch, her sorrow turned to venom. You think you're perfect, don't you? Always the hero. If you weren't so smug, maybe people wouldn't hate you. This is your fault. You made me look bad. There it was. The real her again. The entitled, bitter woman who thought playing victim erased cruelty. I leaned forward. You left a kid stranded overseas. You ruined your own life. Don't ever show up at my door again. She stared at me, shaking, then stumbled to her feet and ran out. The door slammed so hard the frame rattled. I let out a slow breath, saved the recording, and labeled it Confession, Melissa. Then I sat down and listened to the first 30 seconds again, making sure every word was clear. It was perfect. My state is one-party consent, so the recording was admissible. That night, I sent the file to 2 people. Daniel, my lawyer, and my father. No explanation, just the audio clip and the subject line, proof. 15 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Dad. His voice was shaking, but not from sadness, from rage. Send me everything, he said. Every document, every recording, every message. I'll handle the rest. You sure? I asked. I've never been more sure of anything, he said. When the call ended, I knew 2 things. 1, Melissa wouldn't sleep again for a long time. And 2, I'd make sure her confession didn't just end up as gossip. It was going to be evidence. I wasn't the kind of man who yelled or threatened. I built cases. I gathered proof. I made things official. So when I said I'd make Melissa's confession into evidence, I meant it. By Monday morning, Daniel had already filed the civil lawsuit, negligence and emotional distress. It wasn't just family drama anymore. It was an official case with my daughter's name on it. Everything was documented. The canceled flight, the hotel checkout, the audio confession, the phone logs. Months later, when the case finally went to trial, the courtroom was quiet, formal, tense. The air in that room felt thick, like everyone knew something irreversible was about to happen. I sat next to Daniel while Melissa and Mike sat across from us, both pretending to be shocked this was even necessary. When the airline representative took the stand, I didn't look at them. I looked at the judge. The rep testified calmly, reading straight from their system. The return ticket for passenger Sarah Grant was canceled manually by Melissa Grant. The refund was processed to the same card used for the original payment. Melissa's eyes darted around the room, searching for someone to blame. Then the hotel manager spoke. The early checkout for the family suite was requested by Melissa Grant, he said. She told our staff the teenager in their group decided to stay behind with friends. We have her email confirming that statement. Daniel handed the printout to the judge. The sound of the paper sliding across the desk was louder than her entire defense. Mike tried to keep a straight face, but he looked ready to crumble. When it was his turn, Daniel didn't waste time. Mr. Grant, he said, did you approve the early checkout? Mike cleared his throat. I didn't know she canceled the ticket. I assumed everything was fine. Daniel didn't blink. So these emails with your signature, the ones approving the cancellations and hotel changes, weren't yours? Mike froze. He had no answer. Then came the part that broke whatever sympathy the room might have had left. The audio recording. Melissa's voice echoed through the speakers, clear and bitter. She doesn't even have a mom. Yet everyone treats her like she's special. My kids get nothing. You could feel the shift in the room. The judge's expression changed from neutral to disgusted. Melissa tried to fake a breakdown, covering her face with her hands, whispering, "That's not what I meant." I didn't say a word. I just sat there and watched her realize she'd built her own cage. Then my father took the stand. Grandpa looked tired but steady, the kind of quiet anger that shakes rooms. My granddaughter was abandoned by her own family, he said firmly. Melissa and Mike lied to all of us. We thought Sarah stayed with friends. They let us believe that while she was stranded in another country. That's not family. That's cruelty. Even the judge leaned back in her chair after that. When it was over, the judge ruled them liable. The court ordered damages for emotional distress and travel costs, plus full reimbursement of all legal fees. The judgment and findings were now part of the public record. The court described their conduct as neglect and emotional abuse. The gavel hit once, and it was done. I didn't celebrate. I just exhaled. It wasn't victory. It was confirmation. Outside the courtroom, Grandpa was waiting for me. He didn't say much, just handed me a folder and said, "The will's being rewritten. They're out." Over the next few days, the fallout spread like wildfire. Melissa's reputation in the neighborhood collapsed. Parents at the school stopped inviting her to events. The PTA quietly asked her to step down. Her name became synonymous with cruelty. People didn't even say it out loud anymore. They whispered it. Mike's job took a hit next. His company placed him on administrative leave pending an internal ethics review, citing public conduct unbecoming. He tried to play it off like a misunderstanding, but everyone knew what it was about. They thought they could bury what they did under excuses and fake tears. Instead, they buried themselves. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I didn't even mention it again. I just went home, sat with Sarah, and helped her plan for the future. She was starting to smile again, starting to sleep through the night. We talked about college, art, travel, things that weren't tied to fear anymore. She asked me once, "Dad, do you feel better now that it's over?" I shook my head. This wasn't about feeling better. Revenge isn't what this is. It's correction. Because that's the thing about justice. When it's real, it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be done. Months passed quietly after the trial. Life didn't snap back to normal, but it started moving in the right direction. Sarah went back to being her usual self, focused, funny, and sharp. She started volunteering at the hospital on weekends, helping kids with art projects while I worked nearby. Watching her walk down those same halls that used to see me at my most exhausted made something in me ease for the first time in a long time. She'd talk about studying psychology, said she wanted to help kids who don't get lucky parents. I never told her how much that line hit me. I just nodded and said, "You'd be good at that." The lawsuit finally wrapped up in full. The judge's written judgment landed like a hammer. Mike and Melissa Grant, liable for negligence and intentional infliction of emotional distress. It wasn't prison time, but it wasn't a slap on the wrist either. They were ordered into counseling, fined heavily, and restricted from any unsupervised travel with minors for 5 years. The judge made it clear in her final statement, this wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act meant to humiliate and isolate a minor. Hearing those words printed on the record felt better than any apology ever could. After the judgment went public, the company finished its ethics review. The result was predictable: termination for professional misconduct. Just like that, his spotless business image evaporated. Meanwhile, the family lawyer finalized the will revisions. Mike and Melissa were formally disinherited. The new will was signed with witnesses present and filed immediately. Grandpa didn't just make it verbal. He made it official. If they want a family, he said, they can start their own. But he didn't punish the cousins. The kids weren't to blame. They were caught in the middle, and Grandpa made sure they stayed part of the family. They started spending weekends at his house, quiet visits, no mention of their parents. Sarah joined them sometimes, helping with homework or just hanging out. It was awkward at first, but kids adjust faster than adults. One night, I dropped her off there and watched from the car as she laughed with them on the porch. For a second, it almost looked like before. Not perfect, but peaceful. I got out and went inside to check on Grandpa. He was sitting at the kitchen table going through papers. You look tired, I told him. He chuckled. Tired's my new normal. Then he looked up and said, I never thought I'd see the day my own son's name would be crossed off my will. You did what you had to, I said. He nodded slowly. So did you. The house felt lighter without Mike's voice in it, without Melissa's fake laughter filling the room. For once, family dinners didn't feel like walking through a minefield. Sarah handled the aftermath better than anyone. No bitterness, no revenge talk, just focus. She didn't even bring them up unless someone else did. When she got her acceptance letter for a summer psychology program, she said, maybe I can help kids who think no one listens. I told her, you already do. Meanwhile, I stayed busy. Between hospital work, court paperwork, and helping Grandpa manage the trust funds for the cousins, I didn't have much time to think about the wreckage we left behind. But sometimes, when I drove past Mike's old office building, or saw one of Melissa's old PTA friends in town pretending not to notice me, I couldn't help but think, good, actions have weight. One afternoon, Daniel called to say the case had been officially closed. It's over, he said. Good, I replied. Let's keep it that way. Later that evening, Sarah joined me in the living room. She sat down next to me and said, you didn't just protect me, you made them answer for it. I glanced at her, half smiling. That's what family's supposed to do. She leaned her head on my shoulder. We're a pretty good team, huh? The best, I said. The world outside kept moving. New cases at work, new routines, new normal. The name Mike and Melissa Grant eventually faded into whispers. But inside our small world, the balance was restored. You can't choose your blood, but you can choose who stays in your family. And mine? It finally felt clean again. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.